When a property as remarkable as George Washington's mansion Mount Vernon closes large portions of its interior to the public, there is mostly a serious reason behind it. That reason was both visionary and practical. The renovation of Mount Vernon revealed quite a number of archaeological surprises. The team found artifacts like 2 coins from 1798 and 1817, pre-Columbian arrowhead and spear points, and American and European 18th century ceramics. However, a shocking discovery awaits them in the house's dark cellar. The needed emergency work. The $40 million revitalization is the most ambitious preservation effort in Mount Vernon's history. How important was Mount Vernon that it had to happen? You cannot understand the founding of the United States without understanding George Washington. And you cannot understand George Washington without Mount Vernon. According to Doug Bradburn, President and CEO of George Washington's Mount Vernon. The goal of the project was to protect the mansion's original building fabric and its structural integrity for the next generations. The restoration work, however, began to reveal the secrets behind the walls. This also reflects the reality that historic homes are living structures that age, shift, and have moisture, pests, and the burden of daily visitor traffic. Instead of patching problems one step at a time, Mount Vernon chose to confront the problems directly with a meticulous, multi-year plan. Washington's private life. This residence at Alexandria, Virginia, is a site showcasing the legacy of Washington. But more than that, it showed Washington's private, domestic life and his desire for comfort away from politics. Washington returned home here every time he gave up his position, first as the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Army, then as the country's first president. Also, his only wish after his 1783 farewell to the troops at Manhattan's Fraunces Tavern was to immediately go home and be left alone. That was how Mount Vernon was such a huge part of who Washington was. The team also had an interesting discovery at the Washington's bedchamber. Stripping away bad 20th century plaster revealed the original 18th century wooden laths, showing how George Washington custom-built the room to protect his domestic privacy. What were hidden in the dirt floors? The team aims to preserve the historic structures at Mount Vernon. But unlike modern houses, they did not aim to replace what is old with what is new. The carpenters usually use historic methods and meticulous processes in order to make sure they can preserve as much of the historic mansion as possible. Archaeologists even discovered an 18th century fork hidden behind a wall in the closet of Martha Washington. Mount Vernon's preservation team worked on restoration and structural tasks. Masons meticulously removed non-original 1930s brick piers and brick sills from the cellar. Carpenters made preparations for the installation of the new updated mechanical systems and new wooden sills at key structural points. To save a nearly 300-year-old mansion from falling apart, the restoration team had to go to war against time. They didn't just fix a few cracks. They completely changed how the house handles the weather. First, workers hid a brand new, high-tech climate control system under the floors to stop damp air from rotting the wood. Next, master builders got to work replacing broken parts of the old wooden frame, fixing the soft brick walls, and fixing a broken drainage system that was flooding the basement. But the real goal of all this hard work wasn't to make the house look modern. It was actually the exact opposite. The team wanted to erase over 200 years of changes so they could reset the cellar to look exactly the way it did when George Washington walked through it in 1799. When George Washington abandoned the estate to fight the Revolutionary War in 1775, the Washingtons left behind 29 sealed glass bottles containing perfectly preserved 18th century cherries and berries. Archaeologists working in the mansion's cellar made the most dramatic discovery in Washington's cellar, which is discovering 35 glass bottles from the 18th century in 5 storage pits. The contents of the bottles have been meticulously removed and are under refrigeration for further analysis. 29 of the bottles were sealed. Those bottles contained preserved gooseberries, cherries, and currants. They were untouched by the atmosphere for centuries. The bottles were carefully moved to Mount Vernon's archaeology lab. Inside, they were unsealed and emptied in order to help stabilize the fragile glass. Jason Burrows, Mount Vernon's principal archaeologist, assumed that the cherries were preserved in this way in order to be consumed later. Historians think this provides a rare glimpse into domestic life and food preservation in the 18th century. The quality of the preservation reflects an excellent level of work. Slaves worked in the plantation's kitchen, and they were overseen by a cook named Doll, who came to Mount Vernon in 1758 with Martha Washington. Pop culture fans might remember this cellar from the movie National Treasure, where characters sneak into Mount Vernon to find a hidden historical clue. While the movie's sandstone tablet was pure Hollywood fiction, the real-life cellar has yielded incredible treasures. The bedchamber is one of the most special rooms in the mansion. It was in this very room that the founding father took his final breath on December 14th, 1799. These renovated bedchambers on the second floor are drawing in some of the most intense interest. The Revitalization team made it a goal to return the place as closely as possible to its documented 1799 appearance. Also, Mount Vernon was built as part of the addition of the home's south wing. It coincided with the first president's larger plans to develop the mansion. The bedchamber is not just a generic period room, but is a meticulously researched and interpreted place made to mirror what was actually present at the time. Workers, Caroline Branham and Ona Judge, labored in the room, working on tasks related to its maintenance and domestic needs of the family and the broader estate. The room included a large closet and storeroom. It was also adjacent to the rest of the house through the building of the back stairway and little passage. The bedchamber is at the center of the narrative for understanding the private life at Mount Vernon. Despite being a powerful founding president and military leader, he cherished domestic privacy, comfort, and elegance in his private life. As layers of 20th century plaster and metal lath were removed, most of the 18th century wall and ceiling lath endured. Despite some repairs needed, keeping as much of the historic materials was the focus. Witnessing the bedchamber today, visitors see beyond a bed and some pieces of furniture. They are entering a personal environment that reflects the habits, preferences, and conditions of one of the most famous households in early America. These secrets reveal how the Washingtons were deeply engaged in a complex, hidden world. They balanced elite status with the realities of enslaved labor and plantation life, a birthday gift to the nation. This project is Mount Vernon's birthday gift to the U.S. as the country approaches its 250th anniversary. The restoration preserves the mansion's original 18th century fabric, strengthens its structure for centuries to come, and revitalizes the spaces that were precious to Washington. Washington's world has greater authenticity and accuracy than ever before. It is a breakthrough for one of America's most sacred historic landmarks. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, leaders unveiled a restored home that mirrors Washington's world with greater accuracy and authenticity than ever before. The entire revitalization project focused heavily on the health and stability of the mansion. The design teams also worked on improving how everyday visitors experience the historic rooms. Now, people can enjoy popular seasonal events much better, including Mount Vernon by candlelight and the beautiful Christmas illuminations. Guests can now walk freely through all of the restored rooms on the first and second floors. This exciting reopening marked a brand new chapter for the estate. This means that the historic mansion is not only open to the public again, but it is also much stronger. It is better interpreted for guests and matches the exact way it looked and operated in the late 18th century. During this deep cleanup, workers fully renovated the central passage, the old chamber, and the little parlor. This project first started in 2023 and is expected to be fully complete by September 2026. The famous landmark is currently sitting at Phase 4 of its total renovation plan. However, different portions of the massive George Washington Mansion have actually been going through careful restoration and steady maintenance since 2019, which all began when basic exterior touch-ups started on the west side of the building. The main goals of the renovation include improving the old backyard drainage system, the installation of a brand new climate control system, and repairing the heavy wooden framing from severe moisture and termite issues. The main focus at the moment is on finishing up the interior spaces and re-establishing the original structure of the house. The entire project follows Mount Vernon's core mission to protect, preserve, and share the incredible legacy of the first U.S. president. This official National Historic Landmark site welcomes more than 1 million visitors per year. The house was simply never built for so much modern foot traffic and buckled shoes. Although the first and second floors have currently been reopened to visitors, the cellar will remain off-view as work goes on through fall 2026. If you enjoyed this video about the Mount Vernon Mansion, you may be interested in the untold story of another mansion, which is Sam Walton's Walmart family mansion in Bentonville.